Let's get this party started.
Coverage tight, spotlight on tomorrow. Who you with? Trust, you'll be delighted that you followed. At Phirst Contentionn, the invention. We debate sports, of course we should mention. What's that? We cover games, we don't play suspensions. We 100, so if your star's missing, we let you know your squad surely gone fishing. We never fish though, no, not our motto. We sport on deals, on court, on fields. The victors, the vengeance, the legends, latest invention.
Hola, senors and senoritas. Welcome to another episode of Phirst Contention. I'm your boy Marvin Banks here with the T, the Y, Sosina.
Salutations, folks. Great show on deck for you guys, but don't forget, we also got Steve over in Shed's Block. What up, Steve?
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for kicking it over to me. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Strive higher every day. Let's have an awesome show today. We got some nice content to talk about. Looking forward to see and listening to what these guys have to say, and I'll be back with Shed's Block.
All right, let's dive right into it. More of a serious subject to start this show. As some of you may have seen over the weekend, the St. Louis Rams, kind of entered the pregame warm-ups. Hands up, kind of showing some solidarity for what happened, in Ferguson, Missouri. Now, the St. Louis Police Officers Association, they pretty much condemned the Rams for the act, kind of thought it was distasteful and kind of, stirring things in the city of Ferguson and Missouri as a whole. Marvin, your thoughts on what the Rams receiving court did there?
I think the police department in St. Louis and in Ferguson has gone crazy. For them to condemn those players for having a peaceful protest and them showing solidarity, coming up with their hands up, I think it's absolutely outrageous and ridiculous. As an American, you have your First Amendment rights. You have the right to a peaceful protest. You have the right of freedom of speech. So for them to come out and do that and respect and to pay homage to the things that's happening in Ferguson because they are a pillar of their community since they're right there, I think it's absolutely ridiculous for the police department to not only say they should be fined, but they also should be fired from the profession too as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, they are saying that they felt it was kind of, two-faced because the Rams spent all week speaking with them, trying to make sure that things stay peaceful heading into the games. And obviously, the verdict is in, Officer Darren Wilson will not be indicted. And based on the evidence, that's kind of presented, they feel that it's out there and that it's pretty conclusive. But it's like you said, First Amendment rights. No matter what happens, it's part of our rights as citizens. And another issue that needs to be spoken on. We see a lot of athletes out here that these kids and other guys are kind of looking up to. When we say, when will they chime in on this issue? When will they, chime in on that issue? And so for them to kind of show solidarity for the city of Ferguson, especially, for a community of people that look just like them, I think, it speaks volumes there.
What you also got to look at, too, is you also got to look at who's making these remarks. And for Jeff Rhoda, who's the head business manager of the police department, St. Louis Police Department, he has made a lot of questionable decisions in his past. So he has a shady past, per se. 2001, he was fired for misconduct. For misfiling police reports. Then the police department is saying that the Rams called them and issued an apology, but the head PR person for the Rams came out and said, no, that was not true at all. But there's a silver lining in this, and that is athletes are stepping up into the forefront of social issues that's going on, which is a great sight, which is bringing more attention about what's happening, because I felt that eventually the issues that's happening in Ferguson, the issues that's happening around in St. Louis would eventually die down. But as you can see, with this happening, I think it's going to continue on for a long period of time moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And you touched on athletes, Marv, kind of stepping up and kind of showing kind of where they stand. How can anyone forget the photo of the Miami Heat after the during the Trayvon Martin saga?
Exactly.
With their hoodies up, kind of showing that, after he was gunned down by George Zimmerman there. How can one forget kind of things like that? LeBron James, just in terms of the whole Sterling situation, you really coming to the forefront saying this is unacceptable. We can't have someone like that in our league. So rather than people that we kind of see as kind of take checks, go on about their business and their nice houses and their big cars and not really caring about the community. It's nice to see them kind of invested and showing, their opinions on what's going on in and around them.
You know what? It's also a good opportunity for the NFLPA and the NFL Executive Association and Roger Goodell, that's been in hot water, which we'll touch on a little bit later, for him to stand behind his players. Because let's say that he goes and supports the police department. What is the message that you're really sending to the NFLPA? What is the message that you're sending to the rest of the athletes that's in the sport in NFL? I mean, sports is used to make a point. It's always a microcosm of what's happening on in the real world. And it's like we touched on before, it's great to see African-American athletes in their communities, the teams that they're playing for, step up and make a stand and show their true colors and show which line they're on. Either they're for what happened in Ferguson or they're against it. I'm glad that they stepped up and finally made a decision, which is very positive.
Now, worth mentioning, it comes with the territorial protest. Some fans, at the stadium booed, while others kind of gasped and were shocked, and others, applauded. And again, the NFL decided to stay out of it, not come down the Rams, and kind of let them do their thing. Now, let's take this opportunity to go to Steve, well-known or not well-known fact. He's actually from Ferguson, Missouri. So, Steve, what do you think about what the Rams did and how the league is deciding to handle it?
Yes. Hands up, don't shoot. My condolences out to Mike Brown's family and anybody else's family whose children were taken a little bit earlier than what they expected by, police enforcement. I look at this issue, obviously because it's dear to my heart as far as what goes on in St. Louis because I'm from that area. I went to school not too far from where this incident took place. And I see the situation bigger than just what's going on in Ferguson. Obviously you got a lot of people across the nation that have taken this to hand, that are protesting and kind of going against what the grand jury said that Darren Wilson would not be indicted on any charges. I feel like this was a perfect situation to kind of maybe start a cycle or start a step towards progression for children that are out there that are getting, maybe a little bit, judged or, getting to the point where you can't expect to walk around and not be, harassed sometimes. Obviously, sometimes in our community, especially African American community, we have some issues as far as what we're doing to each other. That kind of lends itself to police to think the same way that they're thinking now. But at the same time, I don't feel like it should be justifiable for somebody to lose their life over a certain situation, especially if they're unarmed. This has happened plenty of times in the last, few years, and it just seems not to be mending itself. And I feel like now is the perfect time to kind of capture that and really start giving the police actual accountability and responsibility and to not kill these children, at least take them, arrest them, let their time be done in a jury, in the court, and see what happens with that. Because for us to just take these lives, it's really affecting the community. It really hurts me just to see what's going on right now. Just because not only is it happening in Ferguson, it's been happening all over the place. Some of the stuff is not being publicized. But for the Rams to kind of come out, and obviously they're a stakeholder in that community. It's happening. They're in home front in St. Louis. And obviously you would want them to do something like that. You want people who have a prominent position in society to make a stand for stuff like this because obviously we as a people, we can do a lot, but we still need help from people who matter. And these are the people who matter. So I feel like for the police to actually come out and be very upset that the guys at the Rams wanted to, showcase their support to the whole movement that's going on right now, I feel like that is just so off to me because obviously they're a little disappointed that the Rams are doing this because they had some type of inside conversation about the jury decision and the police and kind of lowering the violent protest. Well, this wasn't violent protest. This was a peaceful protest. This is something that's been going on all this week, all of last week, especially right after the decision. And it's going to continue to happen. And we need more people like that to step up and to, be supporters for this type of movement because this is not okay. I do not believe this is okay. I am deeply hurting by everything that has actually happened in St. Louis, even to the point that, you have some people that are burning crap up. I don't like that you have to burn crap up, but people are just angry right now to the point where they don't even know what they're going to do. And I feel like we still, as a people, have to come together and make some type of change, because Black lives do matter, children do matter. Giving somebody their due justice or their due time in a situation is something that we need to really kind of take accountability for. And this situation is something that, like I said, it's a step. And we need people like the Rams. We need some more celebrities, like Ty mentioned with LeBron James doing it in the past, and some of the Miami Heat fellas with Trayvon Martin. We need those type of people to actually make a stand as well, because we want to make sure our voices are being heard, not only in our community, but worldwide. So take that to heed as you see more protests that are going to continue to happen. People are doing walkouts now. It's kind of getting to the point that we're really trying to grab attention to the government, to the police officers, to enforcement. Be peaceful with your protests, but make a stand, because this is something that we all believe should be changed.
Appreciate the input, Steve. Now we move a little bit forward to the NFL. Ray Rice won his appeal this past week. So with him winning this appeal, what does that mean for him? Will he play again this year? And what does that mean for Roger Goodell and his legacy?
I mean, let's start with Roger Goodell and his legacy. I think it's very important to note that we've kind of seen him start to take a step back. Since he was first, dubbed commissioner, he was the judge, jury, and executioner, as everyone call it. Players were against him, and he was coming down on all these punishments. As of late, there's not a lot of consistency there. He's decided to kind of let other people come to the forefront and make these decisions, especially as it relates to domestic violence, kind of get some more female input, so it can be even across the board, and you can avoid these double jeopardy situations. So great in that sense, just as far as Roger Goodell stands.
What's been happening to Roger Goodell as of late is that he's been abusing his power. It seems that way. And for him to lose this appeal with the Ray Rice decision, it just seems that it's just questioning leadership that's coming from above. Ray Rice said, I went in, I told you what happened, verbatim, you gave me 2-game suspension. But when the video came out, you seemed in awe, seemed gasp, and you wanted to suspend me indefinitely. But I told you what happened. You have the video somewhere in your office, but you didn't believe what I was saying. So what does that say? It says that you're losing trust. And you're not building a lot of trust within the players' union. And you're losing a little bit of trust within the owners who pay your big salary. So moving forward, what is going to be the situation with Roger Goodell? He might be looking at a termination sometime soon. So he might be on the lookout for that.
Bringing in a lot of money. It's going to be interesting what the owners decide to do. As far as, you also said Ray Rice, obviously, what kind of happens to him? This is a land of second chances.
Exactly.
But we're going to need some time as far as that goes. Ray Rice, and he brings up a great point. He told him verbatim, and this is what you handed down. So, you just can't come back with a second punishment, even though the video is very, very graphic. But, as far as teams that are interested in him, this is a league where running backs aren't as valued. But if you can get a player with the talent of a Ray Rice, even though he's had some struggles in the past years, I could see someone stepping to the forefront. Don't know how long it'll take, but we've got some teams who just can't run the ball, and when it comes to winning, that's what's most important.
I think the teams that you're looking for is that you have to have a team that has a strong leadership within their franchise and a strong leadership within their locker room too as well. What's going to happen is that he's going to be a PR nightmare for the time being, for the rest of this year. He's going to be a PR nightmare. He might be toxic for that franchise. But if you can have, like I said before, if you can have a strong locker room, if you can have that strong presence, then I believe that Ray Rice could be a good fit for you. And I identified a couple of teams that Ray Rice might fit in well in. The Indianapolis Colts, who are in desperate need of a running back. The Arizona Cardinals, who needs a running back. And kind of a sleeper team that some people might want to look out for is the San Diego Chargers. Even though they have Ryan Matthews, I think him being a complimentary piece to him would actually kind of fit well for their playoff chances and moving forward too as well. So definitely those three teams, I think, have those strong characteristics and leadership values that can get over this PR nightmare that might be happening.
Absolutely. I definitely thought Colts and Cardinals myself. Tampa Bay as well, but, not as much structure back there. But as for the Colts, don't forget, Jim Irsay, he wants people to forgive him. He may need to turn the other cheek and forgive Ray Rice and give him a chance as well.
Exactly.
Also going with this story, obviously, Janae Rice, they're kind of making their media circuit here. Mm-hmm. She's kind of speaking out on what's happening in terms of how the Ravens treat the situation and the whole episode for her. Your thoughts on her finally kind of breaking that silence?
I think it was an interesting testimony. It was an interesting piece to hear how it came about, and for her moving forward, because you can't look in the past. Hindsight is 20/20. So moving forward, what are you going to do moving forward? And it's about educating. It's about educating young women. It's about educating couples. About educating married people about how not to put yourself in that particular situation. Now, moving forward, educating their daughter. They have a daughter that's 2 years old named Raven. Mm-hmm. So educating her about domestic abuse and marriage life and mistakes and different things of that nature, it's a valuable teaching point, a valuable teaching lesson.
Now, the first time these things take place, the person involved takes a very, 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 very hard hit. Ray Rice took a hit, but I believe it served a purpose. It took this situation for people to realize, what, domestic abuse isn't something to laugh at. Not every single case that is reported, not to mention all the ones that aren't, is something that you can just be swept under the rug. We need to hold these players more accountable, the same way these same players need to kind of step to the forefront when there's issues going on inside their cities and their towns. Mm-hmm. So it was unfortunate the way it happened, but it's nice to see people take that, especially people in positions of powers who hand down punishments, kind of flip it and say, what, let's reevaluate the way we're treating these athletes, especially a lot of whom are pretty much coddled from high school through the ranks of college and into their professional careers.
Psychologically, moving forward, we don't know how their relationship is on the inside. But from the outside looking in, everybody is saying, why is she sticking up for him, blaming the victim and things, looking from the outside. It's like a broken relationship. But we don't know because we're not inside Ray and Janae Rice's relationship. We don't know their everyday basis. So if Janae Palmer, now Janae Rice forgives Ray Rice, and if Ray Rice forgives Janae Palmer, all you can do is hope for the best, pray for the best that
Absolutely.
They have learned from what has happened in the elevator and they can grow as a couple moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And to this point, squeaky clean record for Ray Rice. So you like to think that this is an anomaly.
Exactly. So let's throw it over to Steve to give his insight and his input about the Ray Rice and Janae Rice situation that's going on right now.
Steve?
Thanks, fellas. Welcome back to Shed's Block, everybody. Let's get into it. We're talking about Ray Rice, Janae Rice, that whole situation that happened with the NFL. I kind of look at this and it's kind of hard for me because I am not a supporter of any type of domestic abuse, and I was really pissed off at what I saw with Ray Rice. And for him to kind of get, back his appeal, and now he has an actual opportunity to get back into the NFL this year, I still don't think he should play this year. I still don't think a team should even try to touch him this year, especially because of what they saw with that. Obviously, Roger Goodell made it a mistake by only suspending him for 2 weeks. But at the same time, I don't think that should be recommended for him to come back just so soon. Yes, he should get a second chance, especially because Janae is forgiving him for the whole situation. Who's to say you can't control people's relationship? You don't know what actually goes on in between, their doors or their sheets, whatever they're doing with their relationships. But at the same time, I feel like the issue kind of became public. So at this time, it's still a little bit too early for him to come back so early, especially after what Roger Goodell is doing with other players, naming Adrian Peterson as one of them. He did his child abuse thing, and he's suspended for the whole year. I feel like Ray Rice should still be suspended or at least not allowed to come back until maybe next year if that opportunity comes up or arises for him. But the situation is, I don't know, it's a little weird just because, Janae has forgiven him. Who's to say why or why not she's doing that? But if you look at it from the outside in, it looks very bad, but you can't tell what's going on with their relationship. You can't really fault her. I mean, it's a thin line between love and hate sometimes, but people stick around for those that they really, really, really love, and as you can see, she's a ride or die for Ray Rice right now.
Let's transition to something a little bit different. Out of San Francisco, Jim Harbaugh might be on his way out, even though he has had some success out there in San Francisco. But if he is on a way out, where do you think the best landing spot is for him? And would you want him to coach your team?
First of all, this idea is absolutely insane. Look at the 5 seasons before Harbaugh arrived in San Francisco. We were talking about 4-12-06, 5-11, 7-9, 8-8, 6-10. His first year in 2011, they went 13-3 and were in an NFC Championship game. Every single year since then, they've won at least 11 games. While the offense has regressed, he knows how to coach. I think he's deserved the benefit of the doubt for what was a pristine franchise that was forgotten. I think a great spot for him to land would be somewhere with, a defense kind of in the making. And I believe it or not, I've thought of places like the New York Jets, could use some work, a top pick at quarterback that he can kind of help along the way.
Okay.
I've thought about Pittsburgh, quarterback already in place, kind of get that defense shored up, but in the easier division rather than going to the East. And of course, I would love for him to play for my team. So come coach Chicago if you like. We take him.
You know what? Jim Harbaugh reminds me, and he's not on this caliber quite yet, but he reminds me of a Hall of Fame coach that coaches in the NBA. He reminds me of Larry Brown. He's kind of the Larry Brown of the NFL to me, where Larry Brown is a great coach, but he has short-term success at the places that he goes to because he burns out so fast. So I believe that Jim Harbaugh might be on the same track with and any team that's looking at him have to look at 2 things, either the short-term greatness versus the long-term success. Which one do you want to have? And for those teams, you mentioned the Jets. You mentioned Pittsburgh. But another team out there that's over there in the Bay, Oakland. Oakland is a mess right now. If you give him complete control over everything, look, here you go, Jim Harbaugh, you can do everything. And also another mess, why not go back to your alma mater? Why not go back to the Michigan Wolverines where you know that you're going to reign supreme?
Hail.
In Ann Arbor, you'll be the president, you'll be the mayor, you'll be the prime minister, whatever else is out there. He will have complete control over the whole football program forever moving forward.
Not just the program, he would pretty much have control over a portion of that state.
Yeah, pretty much.
Michigan State, the Spartans doing well, but don't get it twisted. Deep down underneath all the layers, this is a Wolverine state.
But would you want him as your coach?
Absolutely. You see what we're dealing with Mark Trestman? Come to Chicago. Come to Chicago. Get Jay Cutler on point, please.
It's kind of hard for me to have him as my coach because of the short term. It's so much of a short term, and our type A personality can only work for so long, Ty. But
I'll take it.
I understand that. So moving forward, if you was going to look at this, and a big question that a lot of people have been asking, can a college team be an NBA team? I'm speaking, can the University of Kentucky beat the Philadelphia 76ers in a 3-game series? Can it happen, Ty?
We touched on it, and like you said, the question keeps popping up, and people just want to know. And you know what needs to happen? We need to just give it to them. Just let the people see it. We need to see the 76ers and Kentucky. It's time to lay this at rest. Me personally, like I said, the 76ers may be from college and, baby skin, but they're in the NBA for a reason. They did the college thing before. I think / hope that the Wildcats couldn't pull it off.
You know what? Watching the 76ers, watching them play has been abysmal. It's been bad. It's been cataclysmic. That is Marvin's big word of the week. This play of the 76ers has been cataclysmic. It has not been good in any sense of the imagination. But when you think of it, Michael Carter-Williams is the best player.
Absolutely.
if you was going to look at that series, Michael Carter-Williams is the best player on that floor. Then Nerlens Noel, then Tony Roden Jr. Outside of that, the rest of them could still play for the college team in Kentucky. So I'm going with Kentucky to beat them in a 3-game series. Kentucky's team right now has 7 people that's going to be playing in the NBA next year. They have 5 potential first-round draft picks when I was looking on NBADraft.net. So 5 potential draft picks, and plus, Coach Cal coached in the NBA before. Okay. So he's not
true.
He's not new.
He's not a novice.
He's not new to the NBA. He hasn't had a lot of success in the NBA, but he has coached in the NBA before. And when you think about the 76ers rosters, it is horrible.
Fact.
It is bad. They're not even an NBA team. They're an NBDL. You know what? That's disrespectful for an NBDL team.
Woo.
I can't see them pulling off any victories no time soon, Ty.
They've been in college. I think I'm just praying for the best. I'm just hoping for the best.
Yeah, you are.
I think the 76ers can do it.
You are. You definitely are. But now we're going to transition. Let's go into the Wii Sports, our fan interactions.
Love this portion.
Things where you send in questions, and we answer them for you. Excuse me. And our first question comes from Zach LaCour, and he asks, well, 2 words: Johnny Football, Johnny Football, Johnny Football. Ty, thoughts?
He's got to be wondering if it's time for him to take the helm at quarterback for the Browns. And I understand the excitement, but I think you gotta leave with the person who brought you. Hometown kid Brian Hoyer is getting it done. He's getting the Browns out. They're at a 7-5 record. Mind you, he's done most of it without the services of Flash Gordon and Jordan Cameron. I think you leave Hoyer in there because, like I said, I mean, you're 7-5 in the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with you. I don't think Manziel's time isn't until next year when Hoyer contract ends at the end of this year, and when Manziel can easily just take over. I definitely agree with you on that point. Brian Hoyer should start moving forward, but people are clamoring for
the regime
to start very soon.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's the social media moment of the week. We're talking about Johnny Football already. Now, if you really paid attention to that game, in that second drive after he scored that 80-yard drive and scored a touchdown, that second drive didn't go so well at first. You know, he kind of fumbled the ball towards the end zone, fell in the back. Buffalo almost picked it up. But then as you looked at him, you saw he just kind of laid there, kind of fell asleep. Kind of funny if you kind of pay attention to it. There's a lot of memes out there about that. They got Pacquiao sleeping next to him. They got Simba, kind of trying to wake him up. They got Muhammad Ali standing over the top of him. I mean, it's kind of a funny moment, but this could be another rise of Johnny Football. Be on the lookout for it.
The next question comes to us from, familiar name here. Demola Ogundepe asks us, is Andrew Luck a top 5 quarterback today?
You know what? I think he is, but I think he's 5th. And the reason being is because he has not had a winning record against the elite quarterbacks. Absolutely. So with that being said, I have to leave him at 5th. And it's hard for me to put him there because I was debating between him, Phillip Rivers, and Big Ben Roethlisberger, who all have success in the NFL. But if I had to say right now, I would leave him at number 5 behind the big 4, Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, Manning. Peyton, not Eli. Don't get it twisted.
Never that. And I agree with you. You bring up some good names in terms of Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers, but look at the Colts pre and post Peyton Manning. When they lost Peyton Manning, they were 2-14. Andrew Luck comes along and 11-5 next year. 11-5 win the division. Currently, they have, I believe they're 8-4 now. And looking at their schedule, there's only one game that they can lose, and that would be against the Cowboys. So they're staring at 11-5 at least record once again. So got to put him number 5. He's doing it a lot with not a lot of talent around him.
That's true. That's true too as well. But you also got to factor in the division they play in too as well.
Fair.
Our last question comes from Sky in St. Louis, and he asks, should the league and teams be forgiving of Ray Rice, since his wife is?
Touched on this earlier, and I believe they should. Again, a nation of second chances. We've seen Michael Vick kind of back in the helm, Dante Stallworth, etc. Especially if his wife is forgiving and she's the one under that roof with him, give it some time, let them take a sabbatical, have a few epiphanies, and come on back if if they're willing to accept them. But I think they should.
I think so. America is the land of second chances. Ray Rice has paid his due. Like you said before, he is a pillar in the Baltimore community. Spotless record. So I definitely believe he deserves a second chance and also be forgiven for the mistakes that he has committed.
That's all we have for today's show, folks. I mean, obviously we appreciate you watching, but do not forget, please, like the video, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
I am Marvin Banks here with Tywell Sosina. Signing off.
Trey's up.
Ride with Phirst Contentionn, that's full throttle in. We sport on deals, on court, on fields. The victors, the vengeance, the legends, latest invention. Phirst Contentionn. We sport on deals, on court, on fields. The victors, the vengeance, the legends, latest invention. Phirst Contentionn. Game face grit, like born for playoffs. Say it all in small time like payoff.